that being said, I've called the meeting to order of the trustees of the Hoag Library of the Swan Library Association at 7:04 p.m. on June 9th. In attendance, we have Linda Weller,
Betty Sue Miller,
Kevin Doherty,
Debbie DeBach,
Doris Riley.
and Megan taking notes.
it's going that way.
Since we don't have a quorum, we cannot make any motions at this time. Correct? Correct. I'm asking everyone. We can't make we can't make any motions because
Wouldn't
we
it
don't
You
have.
can't act on anything. You can move ahead, for example, read the minutes, adjust the minutes, but you can't approve the minutes.
Okay.
You can receive reports from the committees, you can ask Betty some questions, that sort of stuff. Which
But all
goes
motions,
in-
we have to wait till we have a quorum.
That is correct.
Okay. So the first item on the agenda is to review and adopt the agenda.
Can you do that? Or do
Well, we can
just
review
use
it.
We can have the conversation about whether we want to add or delete things.
from the agenda?
Correct. Public forum opportunity? None.
Look, it's hear no evil, see no evil, and speak no evil.
So election of officers. Nominations for the following offices. I had reached out to of course it's not. Why would it be in here? Let me go to something real quick. I had reached out to Tom Binnerman and Lisa Erickson from Nioga. And
Excuse me, who went that?
Tom Binderman and Lisa Erickson from
Okay.
Nioga.
He's the director and she's the assistant.
So sorry about this, guys.
Where are you on this?
So I'm on the, so I reached out to them and we had a discussion and I sent them an email covering our discussion and wanted to make sure that I was capturing what they said and had intended. Filling the need for a treasurer. It's good practice to have a non-board member. Ideally, this person has an accounting or financial background. Should not be a previous board member due to any conflict of interest, any working relationships, and intimate knowledge of happening on the board. Should be a non-voting person if they're filling the need, because it would be a conflict of interest, like if they, Association Library should always try to follow the guidelines that public libraries do, especially in regards to treasurer. The treasurer does not vote, does not contribute to the meeting, and has a job description. So I asked, how soon do we need to fill this? And they said we can go a month or so. By our August meeting, we should have one. So Lisa Erickson had sent me what I had given you at your table, treasurer's responsibility. If we had someone from outside of the board be a treasurer, which is highly recommended. Out of the 21 libraries in the system, only 8 remaining have a board member who is also a treasurer. And the other ones are moving away from that. So she had sent me the treasurer's responsibilities, which I had given you at your table. So this has a general idea of what's expected of them. It is typically a paid position. They have a few libraries who share the same person that does that because then they're used to dealing with libraries. This person also has to be a member of the finance committee and attend finance committee meetings. So they have to attend board meetings and finance committee meetings. I had reached out to Gloria Naughton and she had sent, I had talked to her on the phone, and she had stated after thinking about it and researching on her own, as Mrs. Naughton does,
Yes, yes.
that she was going to decline becoming treasurer because of the commitment to the meetings and all that, and she was enjoying her free time. She sent me an email after I talked to her tonight, and I just got it. And this is what she said. First, want to thank the trustees for recording the board meetings and making them available on the website. I reviewed the May 12th board meeting and wanted to comment on the following. There were no nominations for treasurer, as Joyce stated that Kevin brought out an interesting point at the annual meeting that the person for treasurer could be someone not on the board but who has the experience. She recommended me for treasurer and there were no other nominations. Joyce nominated me and Debbie seconded. There were no additional nominations. Linda stated she wanted to speak to me in person and hold off on the treasurer until the next meeting. Kevin was correct when he stated the treasurer did not have to be a board member. I would like to read the following from the January 9th, 2019 board meeting minutes. Resolved that the trustees of the Hoag Library of the Swan Association accept with regret the resignation treasurer of trustee Carol N. Miller received by text message October 17th, 2018 and effective October 18th, 2018. The office of treasurer should not remain vacant during year-end, year-start period, which includes the annual audit. Resolved that the trustee hereby immediately appoint Linda K. Smith, retired treasurer, as treasurer of the library for the interim, though the annual reorganization meeting in May 2019, endowing her with a voice but not a trustee vote in all matters. She was nominated treasurer 2020. She told me to ignore the last two because I had already reached out to her and we had spoken. I waited to reach out to Ms. Naughton until I had the information. I had talked to Tom Binderman and Lisa Erickson to find out what are the best practices, what are the common practices for other libraries in the region, and I wanted to speak to her after I had that information. So I wasn't saying, hey, we did it before, let's do it again. I wanted to find out what exactly the roles and responsibilities are. There is an addition, I was told, to the green handbook that we have. It's online. They haven't reprinted the handbook. I could send that link if you guys would all like to read it.
Is that the one I sent to you?
Yeah,
I can
that's
just,
the one.
if anybody-
They sent it, then Betty would also resend it.
right, if you
I will
wanted,
send it, yeah.
okay.
I will send it out.
Okay, you do it.
I will send it out.
Thank you.
So, we do not have enough people to make a motion, so given what Mr. Bindeman and Ms. Erickson said, we'll hold off on the treasurer at least until the next meeting, and we can decide whether we want to hire someone or appoint someone outside of the board, or have someone again on the board and just go with that.
Okay, so my question is, right now, I sign checks that Betty Sue has already approved for signature. Once we have a treasurer, regardless of where it's coming from, that person will do that consistently, and that means that other members of the board that have signing privileges will no longer have to do it?
I think you can still have the signing privileges, but the treasurer oversees
Okay,
all of it to make sure.
to make sure that everything is above board.
Correct.
Sounds good.
Correct.
I just want to make sure because I don't want to continue signing if that is going to be.
No, they said everything, we can continue as normal,
Right, until.
but they probably wouldn't wait any longer until August because we'll start getting into year-end things and get them acclimated and
Yeah.
all of that.
That's true. Okay.
Linda, are any of the people who hire a regular treasurer and go in the different libraries, are any of them local? I mean,
I didn't get into that with them. They both got on the call together, and I think they were kind of in between things, so we talked for a little bit, but I didn't want to ask all that. I said, who do they have? And they said a couple of them share one, so I didn't ask what libraries, how close, because I wanted to speak to the board and find out what everyone thought. Do we wanna go with best practices? Would we like to just nominate someone on the board to do it and just go the way we have been? I mean, we can do this either way. The state guidelines are you have someone outside because it's a separate
Right.
entity that overlooks all of it.
Debbie, I can reach out to the directors and just ask, how do you handle and do you recommend somebody?
I mean, because then it would be a consistent, professional person, you know, I mean,
Right.
I can't even tell you what would happen if I became a treasurer of anything, you know, it would be terrible. So, I mean, somebody who really knows what they're doing and.
Well, and that's what, I believe it was Mr. Binderman had stated, was that this person really needs to know how everything should be processed and according to all guidelines and everything. Not saying that, you know, not saying that anything's wrong,
Right.
but you just have that. So,
I just, a couple of comments. If we have a paid position, or we have a professional who's doing this pro bono in lieu of a paid position, which is something you can hope for, but you can't plan on, we need to define, for example, under these specific duties that come from Geneva, which is a different library
Right,
system,
right.
blah, blah, blah. Because Barb actually does a lot of this stuff. I
right,
mean, I'm not in favor of paying a CPA to do the reports that Barb does, just so we can say, oh, the CPA does it.
right.
But you need to know that before you start looking, because somebody may be interested in a $20,000 a year job to do all of that stuff, but not be interested in a $5,000 a year job.
Right,
The other thing that I would point out is that even if we think longer term we want to do the professional, but we can't find one, the library has a really good relationship with Bonadil and Company, the auditors. So if we had somebody either who had other library experience, past experience with us, or even bookkeeping experience that we did as a treasurer, paid or not, we still always have them as a resource. So because we're on a system,
Right.
we know how to pay the bills with QuickBooks. We have that resource in case we have to call and say, now does this go in the amortization column or does this go in the depreciation column? We still have that, so we're not.
right,
Yes, we should make a decision to do it, but just because we decide tonight or next month or the month after that we want to do that, it may take us 2 months to find somebody, because this is not going to be put an ad in, show me that you had your
Right.
CPA and start on Monday.
right, and this, and Mrs. I don't know if she's married or not, Miss Erickson, you know, just gave this as a list, and the state guidelines also state what this person is responsible for. So, it doesn't mean that we have to do it, I'm just sharing the information so that we're all on the same page with what information I was given.
Well, just to dovetail with what you're saying, because, as Kevin rightly pointed out, Barb does a lot of these things. Maybe we want an outside person, but we don't want them to do all of this. Maybe it's just to give us generally, it's almost like an auditor for us.
Maybe you would want a treasurer who is an outside
They come
auditor.
in, they just audits monthly.
Right.
Come in a couple of hours a month, you know, when we're doing however it is it works out. And all they're doing is auditing, so it's not, it may be that we can find someone who will volunteer to do that. As long as we have a functioning finance committee that is doing the thing, and we have someone that has the CPA experience that oversees,
Right,
they don't have to do this for us.
right,
because
and,
why
you
pay
know,
double?
Mr. Vinderman said, you know, you just want someone who knows what to
Right.
look for.
We want
He goes,
somebody
not
who
that
knows-
there's any issues,
Yes,
but you just want that extra
Yes.
step. So, again, we'll have to wait till everyone's here, probably have a bit of this discussion following this, but for right now, this is basically tabled.
right.
Review and adopt the potential adoption of the regular minutes held on May 9th, 2021. Does anyone have any additions?
I do, listen, I do. Well, it's an addition only for discussion,
Okay,
and that is evaluations.
okay,
Because before we know it, the hearing is gonna be here, and We don't wanna get caught.
But that's not to the last month's minutes, though. That's just to this agenda, right?
Yeah, just this agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
The director's report?
Does anybody have any questions? There are a couple of things I can update since that went out. This is the hard part about sending it out ahead of time, because I was still getting information as of today. One item, and I don't know if I got it in there, was the lighting is done, we have not yet been billed.
It's right here.
We are supposed to, that's why,
That's a bit of a delay, wow,
what?
when I scrolled.
Oh, did I put in there that they're supposed to start digging tomorrow for the EV chargers?
Yes, that was in
Okay,
there.
then I probably don't have, oh yes, I did add, because I reached out to everybody, went over my list from last month and sent out emails, and so those are the items that I did get responses to, and the flag is done and ready to be picked up, which can happen any day after 11 o'clock, except for, I believe, the 15th of June. So that is, oh, and we had been putting out on the signs that we were still requiring masks. You're not making decisions tonight, but that is, all changes of that type were made by the board, not me. So at what point do we start telling patrons, if you have been vaccinated, you can not only go to Top Supermarket and go shopping, but you can come to the library? The flip side of that is I reached out to the county health. I should have read this again and I didn't. Did I put down that I reached out about masking for kids out summer for summer reading?
Right, I saw that.
Okay, and they sent me the basic stuff from the state dashboard, and it really is gobbledygook
If
still.
they're outside, they don't have to in schools or summer camp.
Well, the problem is, it's how are we referred to? We're not a summer camp, we're not a summer school, we're not a this, we're not a that, we're a library, and they don't direct that.
Exactly.
So, and
We will wait with the children's part of it until the day before, and then we'll have signage up. I assume that works for you, Teresa, that we'll go with whatever we know is the state's recommendation up till the last minute.
It may change in the middle of your program.
And it may, and we'll change with it. But,
I have one question relative to the lights. My recollection is that there were patrons and employees, I think one or two of whom may be current employees, who were sensitive to some of the fluorescent lighting before. You are not going to be able to tell that on a day like today, but on some overcast gray day, I mean, I'm not asking you to go around to everybody and say, are you getting a headache? Are you getting a headache? But if these are going to last for 8 years, if there's an issue, we need to address it before. I have not read anything about the newer high-efficiency ones. That was a big deal with the high-efficiency ones. When we built the building, that's why we didn't do them, except in a few places. Just as a note.
well, that and Kurt Narberg said that you didn't do them because they hadn't really got them down pat yet. He said you just missed that, and that may have been why they weren't yet recommended too.
okay, so, any other things for the director's report? Anyone have any other questions? I want to thank you for putting all the future programs of interest and putting together the report.
And don't forget that the Friends book sale and plant sale is Friday and Saturday. They would love to have the support.
Oh, you know what, I actually do have a question. So when the flag comes,
I don't know.
huh?
Where are we gonna put it?
No, I don't even, because it was such a big deal, and it
Yes, it
was
was.
such
Yeah.
a community.
I think there needs to be,
Are we doing something?
I think
Yes.
so. But I think we want to get it here and figure out what we're doing with it before we tell the public we've got it here. So be thinking about what you think would be a good thing. I mean, I'm reading over the list that she gave me of all the things they did to this piece of fabric, and it's now encased and protected with UV protection and whatever. So might we even want to see something like that displayed for a while in a place like up high where if the glass will protect it? I don't know, but I think that's something that the board will want input on.
Well, I remember you saying at one point that when the Holland Museum in Batavia wanted to take it out on loan, the only thing they were going to do was put it on the UV lights. They
Correct.
were going to restore it.
Correct.
So now that it's restored, and they're saying that UV lights, if they're saying that UV light provides a degree of protection, you know, me personally, I'm no expert in all these things. I would like to see it periodically bought out a couple of times a year and displayed for a couple of weeks, you know, and then put back and bought out to prolong its life as much as possible, because it wouldn't have lasted that long if you hadn't done the things that you had done to keep it.
Well, I'm gonna, so I think, so someone will pick up the flag. I will offer to do that since it's south of Albany. I'll drive out there. If everyone's okay with that. I know, Mr. Doherty had dropped it off, cause you had business out that way. I have no problem picking it up. It's not worth shipping. And I say, once we get it back here, I'm sure that they will give us recommendations.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
On how, where to store it.
Frequency.
Obviously, humidity plays a part on, you know, it doesn't matter what sort of case it's in, you know, those sort of factors. And then, once we have that information, we'll be able to make a better informed, but I think there should be a large press release
Yes.
Yeah.
of
Definitely.
it. And, you know, depending on how it can be displayed, have it out somewhere that people can easily see it and not, you know, maybe when walking in, but that I think we'll have to wait until we get the
Once
recommendations.
you get it, like you said, get the
You know, I'm hoping there is a list of recommendations. She didn't spend all that time just to go, there you go.
Having met the individual, she loves what she does, and she's an expert because she's very good at what she does, and she would love to share with you. So if you plan a pickup at 9 o'clock in the morning, you'll get 6 hours of conversation. And if you plan it for 3 in the afternoon, you'll get an hour's worth. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's not a negative.
No.
I mean, she really, I mean, and which is why she's the go-to person. And she'll want to show you the other ones that she's doing, and this one. I mean, some of them have been in for renovation for years because you have to wait for everything to stabilize before you can go on that. And she just loves that stuff.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
When she talks about all the steps that they took with the soaking and which products you could use to not damage the fabric, yet remove the glues, and how they were stacking it up with papers and cloths and weights and whatever. It really is, I think if we could get her to make a little chat about it and record it, that would be a wonderful thing to put on a loop when we first display it.
So, would that be something that she could do on her own, or would you want me to bring my computer down and have her record it then?
Well, why don't you and I talk about it?
Okay. Is everyone okay with that? Because I think that would be a good promotional thing to put on the website. Good call. So reports and requests from committees. Finance transfer of funds, we need a motion.
Well, we can't do anything.
Right, so Barb had sent this in an email. I put it in the verbiage that we have used. I didn't know, in the meantime, since we can't make a motion on this, depending on if people can show up, if we could use the line of credit in the meantime. For funds.
Once again, just because we've done it in the past doesn't mean you want to do it now. In the past, the chair has gone out on a limb and authorized these because the chances of the folks that are not here tonight of saying, don't do the regular transfers, we want to bankrupt the payroll account, are rather slim. It's not an official action, and it has to be when we get enough people to have a quorum together. It's entirely up to you. But to draw the line of credit only requires the signature of one of the officers.
I am fine with the transfer of funds.
Yeah,
It's something that has been standard practice,
it has been standard practice.
and, it's clearly stated, and I will read them out loud for those listening. A transfer of funds from Smith Barney to Five Star Bank in the amount of $27,000 for payroll expenses. The second transfer of funds from Smith Barney to Community Bank in the amount of $25,000 for monthly expenses. Since this is a continued practice of the board, we'll authorize those transfers to be made. We will make the formal and final motion at our next regularly scheduled board meeting.
And I will sign for the transfers tomorrow.
Thank you. The second is the use of the line of credit in the amount of $9,560.97 for the installation of new lights. This also should have been a motion. We do not have the bill for that though correctly. So we could wait.
Did we make that into a motion when we first, said to use that? That was a
I
motion.
think-
We
Right.
talked about
We
that.
It was before you came on, Kevin.
Okay.
We
Well, I
actually-
know the first meeting that I was
Yeah,
here.
we talked about it, but that was originally a motion that was made, and we all agreed, so, and the amount was there and it hasn't changed.
No.
But
So,
we haven't gotten the bill yet.
we just hadn't gotten the bill, but we
Right.
had already made the motion.
So
It was
do we
approved.
wanna wait to get the bill until next month?
We-
Just in
why-
case it
The price hasn't changed, has it?
well, we
I
don't,
don't think it can because
I
I
don't think it
signed a
can.
contract
Okay,
and the job is done.
so,
If you defer until the next meeting, even if the bill comes tomorrow, we still will have paid it within 30 days.
yeah.
Right.
They may hope that we pay it the day we get the invoice,
how
but
would you guys like to,
Can I toss out one more thing? If the approval was made to borrow it from the line of credit,
Yes.
that can already be moved and put into the account even
Exactly.
if you aren't paying the bill yet, can't it?
if,
Or
if-
should it wait?
if what
Yes.
we're comfortable
Yeah.
with. It's not a multi-day process. It's online, and it shows up that afternoon,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
Yeah,
so, is the board who's here okay with using the line of credit as previously discussed
right.
for the payment of the installation of new lights when that bill comes in?
When it opens.
I'm okay with that, I just,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Okay?
Can I ask a question? Nobody's told me how that's being paid. Am I just paying interest on that once we start it, or am I paying a certain amount every month on that loan?
On the-
We didn't decide that yet.
I would guess the finance committee would talk about it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Oh,
So, obviously, if we get to the point where there is a monthly interest invoice, then clearly we have to pay that so that we're current.
right.
Whether the finance committee chooses to do 3 equal installments out of this year's money or wait until you get the big, that, we'll let you know.
Well, I just wanted to bring that up so that no one forgot that it needs.
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah,
and I
that there
think,
is, that there is a
We
cost to
didn't
that.
forget, we just didn't decide yet.
right, hopefully by the time the money gets transferred, we get the bill in, we'll already be full members in,
Right.
and then we can, and then the finance committee can make a recommendation from there.
What is the interest rate on the line of credit right now? Does anybody know?
Is it 3.75?
Okay.
I think so.
And by paying the whole thing at once, we've saved 10%. So even paying it in certain installments will make it less than if we paid out the loan to them on their terms. So it looks like it's in pretty good shape.
Does anyone have any questions on the other reports that were included in your packet? You have the profit and loss, you have the financial balance sheet, previous year comparison. This is all, not final, but it's a programs activities list. We have our June 2021 bills.
Right.
Lime Energy, that shows the $9,560.97. The check register from May. Check register from May, the daily receipts, sorry, the other one was Community Bank. And the check register from 5 Star Payroll. And the May 2021 register for Smith Barney operating account. Anyone have any questions? Thank you, Barb, for putting all that together. Friends of the Library.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I think it's,
What one are you looking at?
Betty Sue was going to get back to us, what the lawyer said about the grievance.
That's coming up.
Oh, that's, okay, thank you, sorry, jumping the gun.
Friends of the Library book and plant sale Friday, June 11th and June 12th. So if you can go, please go. They've put a lot of time and effort into that. Old business, we had the EV chargers. Betty Sue said that it'll be starting on this Thursday, tomorrow.
We hope, that's what they told.
Installation of new lights are complete, we already talked about that. And the policy book update status, we had talked about in our last meeting. At the time that I had sent this, there was no news. I resent an email to our attorney and she gave us a quote. I included Betty Sue in that email because she would be the one to need that information as well. To update the policy book, she estimated between $3,000 and $3,500. Is that correct?
Now, is this the whole book, personnel and the other part, or just?
She's done parts of it.
We did the personnel
Personnel is
section
done.
prior,
Personnel is
section is done, so we're talking about
the policy.
The policy.
policy book.
And confirming that A, the language is consistent with the way things are being interpreted, and making sure that our policies are in line with the law, the commissioner's regulations,
Right.
that sort of thing. Rather than do them one at a
Would
time.
she, my other question is, would she also be making recommendations about policies she thinks we should have that we don't? Or would that be, as we move along, if we discover that we don't have something? You know what I mean? Because that's a whole different issue.
Right, I'm assuming that with a review of our policy book and update, since she has done this before, that it would be, you would get them back, here's your policy, I recommend these changes, they would be highlighted, and you don't have this, which is recommended, and you would
That would
need
be
these
great.
added.
That was our experience with the personnel manuals.
Mhm.
There were things that we never thought about
Right.
as the law changed that we needed to have on paper.
So, it was a very short email that she sent back, just here, I said, would it be possible for you to give us a quote to update our policy book? I'm including, the director, Betty Sue, in this email, as she should have this information as well. And she sent back, to update the policy book, it would be between $3,000 and $3,500.
That's reasonable.
I think it's reasonable. I think it's better than us trying to play attorneys and
Yeah.
word things the way we want.
That's true.
But this is gonna be a discussion for the board. All right, new business.
I have one concern with that. The email that you sent to her says, I was wondering if you would be able to give a quote to the Hoyt Library in regards to reviewing and making any updates/changes to our policy book. she may be thinking that that is the employee policy handbook that she already did. At which point, $3,000 to $3,500 is a fair amount of money. I can't see her doing another whole
I
section.
will reach back
of this,
out to her.
Okay?
I assume that, I will reach back out to her.
Okay.
My apologies.
Does that make sense that
Yeah,
that all of a
that's
sudden?
why-
It does, except that based on the litigation that we had over a number of years, she is very familiar with our policy book. And I believe we scanned, not the one that
Yeah,
we have now,
yeah.
but one from before. But absolutely, you need to confirm that this is not the same as the last time around.
Well, her concern before was that there were changes that were being made to the policy handbook that she had created, and we did talk at length about getting that straightened out and having them have the correct copy so that they can advise us.
She want,
That was,
from what I understood, the attorney, well, last time we had talked about this, was they want to make sure that they gave us a policy book, that we're following it. If we made changes, they have to have them as
Right.
well.
Right.
So I will
Yeah,
reach
just reach
back
out
out
to
to
her.
her, just to
Okay.
make sure we're clear on what sections.
What section we're talking about.
And
Okay.
I will get back to everyone at the next meeting. New business, discussion of amendments to bylaws. Do we
We
want
don't
to?
have enough people here to talk about it, but originally, it was to make the board, I think, more involved, that anyone could be, if they have the desire, they could be president of the board, if they are interested in it, but that it should not be seen as only one person can do this job. There are lots of people that have qualifications or bring different aspects to the job that can uplift the library. And it is through the involvement of a variety of people that the library will always be advancing. Because even though I myself like to think of myself as a progressive, I realize that there's a point at which I become a stagnant. I may think that I'm being progressive, but it's nice to have someone else come in with a different point of view, not as and I think being able to do it, if you can do it for 2 years in a row, it allows you to come in with an agenda, push certain things forward, where the next person may have something else that they see that the library needs, and push forward. And it also sort of encourages the group to work together more when they feel like there's an opportunity for them to do something other than be second cook and bottle washer, or just always be the secretary, and it's a way to keep people involved.
I
And
fully believe that.
yeah.
I mean,
And because I think there was and this is a compliment, and at the same time, it's like a failing at the same time. You have had a wonderful leadership program, but when you left for the year, there was chaos, and there need not have been chaos if we had prepared for succession of leadership. Because succession of leadership or leadership planning is not a crime. It prolongs the longevity of the organization. It keeps the organization vital and alive, and so that people know that there's responsibility, that one person cannot do it all. There are 9 people on this board, and as we can see tonight, we're immobile because some of our members did not show up. So we need to have people who are committed and who recognize the responsibility that the job has, and being president carries with it a certain amount of weight that can be rotated. I'd say 2 terms, but the group may think 3 years. I don't know, but I think it's worthy of discussion, and it's not a one-person decision, it's a board decision. But that was my feeling, and that was why I brought it up.
Now, I had asked Mr. Benderman, and he said I'm gonna horribly misquote him, and so I don't even feel really comfortable saying it, but I thought he said there was something in the state working for some sort of term limits.
Yes.
So I will reach back out to him and kind of get some more information, because do we put something in place? Do we wait for state guidelines? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So, again, we'll have to wait till the next meeting. Miss Debbie, do you have anything to add?
I was a member of the, RIT Women's Council for a lot of years, and that, they always had that succession planning so that the president and the vice president, so once her term is done, the vice president moved into that president role. So, they had that kind of, and then so the vice president was mentored that whole time on what was done, what needed to be done, and stepped in. So it did move.
It keeps things moving, and you don't lose time.
I had, in my years on the school board, recommended that I thought it always should have been a rotating position, so that way everyone had, but not everyone wants that responsibility, and you have to respect that as well.
Exactly.
Mr. Doherty?
This is not the Elks Club, where you start out with the poobah, and you become the grand poobah, and you become the grand super poobah, and then you go back to being, a poobah in Americans. I recognize
Just you saying poobah is funny, I'm sorry.
from my experience on the school board and from my experience here, although each of us brings different talents, not all of them bring leadership talents.
Yes.
And to give everybody a fair chance looks good on paper. But I'm sorry, one of the people who was the president in the last year had 2 master's degrees, had been the president of a number of different organizations. There's not a whole lot of mentoring you could have done just because the personality at that point was, you weren't going to get any information from anybody else. And unfortunately, that's what you get. Now, so you think that because we rotate the presidency, our attendance will go up?
I don't think that's
I
what
don't
she was
think
saying.
that's what we're
Let's,
saying.
I understand what you're trying to say. I understand that. I do. I get both your points. Because if there's 9 people on here, 6 of them may not want anything to do with that sort of, people who had gotten back to me with committee things. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Please do not put me in anything to do with this. People tend to know their own strengths.
Yes.
They do. And again, since we're not all here and we can't have a full discussion, this again will have to be moved till next month. So Maggie, can you put that on old business for next month to bring up the discussion of the amendment to bylaws, please? Yeah. As well as all the other things we have to bring up next month. So moving away from that subject, Betty Sue, I never asked you. You're sitting there very quietly. Do you have anything you want to add?
To that?
Yeah.
No.
Oh. Lunch at the Hoyt Library. Information?
Not much yet. We've gotten a couple of the food carts have agreed to come in at different times. I think Debbie's Wood-Fired Grill is coming twice. They've reached out to some others, but we're just sort of taking slow steps until we see how it goes. There will be somebody here on the opening day of summer reading, which is also the day that the 4 different groups are sponsoring the anti-racism workshops here at noon and again in the evening. So we're going to make sure they know. Oh, I'm so sorry. What have I goofed?
The book discussion's on the 17th, the summer reading semester starts on the 21st.
Who's going to be here on the 21st.
Dubby's.
Oh, Dubby's will be here on the,
Dubby's is the 21st. I don't know about the 17th.
okay, maybe I thought there was something.
There's something coming on the 17th, because they were talking about it at their meeting today,
Yeah.
about people being able to.
Well, and they wanted, if there wasn't something to get to eat here or whatever, would we at least provide water?
They're providing the water, they said.
Well, who am I? I don't need to know this
No,
stuff.
it's changed since the last time they talked to me.
Okay. So anyway, we're gonna give it a whirl and we'll see how it goes, and and I did offer it up to the Lions Club. They have always come and we have paid and they have provided hot dogs. And this year I told them that if they wanted to make the money off it, that they could do that, which was sort of in violation of the way we've always done it. But I thought they've lost a lot of their fundraising ability as well. So if they could come and sell some hot dogs and make a couple of bucks, then that was our chance maybe to pay them back a little bit. So if you have anybody that you know might be interested in doing this, please shoot me a text or an email and let me know. I know that when I was up at the school meeting with the administrators, that somebody suggested getting a hold of the Hebrews, thinking that they might be interested in coming up and doing something there. So we're just starting to play around with it and see what we can do. So we're open to any suggestions.
How about mariachis? Remember
I'll reach out.
before COVID?
And they aren't open on a lot of the
They
days, so
were-
they might.
They were at the high school, and there was food outside, and it had such a long line, it was so
Yes.
popular.
Yeah.
They did, I
Yeah.
remember that.
And I can't remember what it was for, I'm sorry, but
It doesn't
But I
matter,
know
but that's a
they
good
had-
Wasn't it
suggestion.
parent teachers night or something, because you and I were there, and the line was.
maybe the open house,
Open house, and the line was,
crazy,
people were waiting
yeah,
hours to get.
But
I'd be
I'm
delighted to see them.
yeah. And if they didn't have the time limit, and we're gonna advertise it, and they would advertise it, and people would drive, it's just a win-win,
Right.
so.
If I might, just speaking of win-win, your work with the school district has been recognized. There's a nice piece of the school website that just showed today from Mr. Edwards, the superintendent, about the summer reading program and the collaboration between the library and the school district. So that is something to take note of,
Oh, yeah.
because for a number of years, our relationship with the school was not what it might have been.
Yes.
Thank you. I will go and look at it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, thank you. I had on the agenda July meeting discussion, because I was hoping that if everyone was here in attendance, we could possibly skip July. Because we're not required to meet every month, and it would be nice to take a little break,
Take a month off.
it would be, but that is not an option.
What is the library, are we gonna be closed that Monday, or are we gonna be open that Monday?
July 4th,
July 5th?
5th.
Yeah, won't we be open, but they will get a paid holiday?
It's up to you.
We'll be open and they'll have a paid holiday.
It's observed holiday, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so we're gonna pay time and a half?
No.
for-
No, those people who are regularly scheduled will have the day off. Those who work that day will be able to take a holiday day, another day in replacement of it.
So if you work July 4th, you could take off Labor Day, right?
No, you could just take off.
No, well then,
Labor Day will close. The issue is that the holiday is on Sunday.
right,
Right,
So-
but observed is Monday.
That is correct.
Unless the board decides they want the library to be closed Monday because it is the holiday. I can tell you, no one here would complain if it were closed on the 5th.
So how have we done it in past practice?
and I just wanna because if someone worked on Monday and they took another day off, that's like doing
Tick or
apples
tack,
for
one
apples.
for one, yeah.
Whereas, but that's not, usually when you work the holiday, it's time
not the holiday.
It's the observed holiday. And if it's the observed holiday, in your job, if it's an observed holiday and you work it, is it time and a half?
No, straight pay.
It's straight
I
pay.
guess nursing was,
Yeah, it's straight pay.
Well-
nursing is different.
I mean, yes, my father worked holiday and he got triple pay.
Right. It's-
You know, Mitch's father worked the holiday and he got straight pay. Same company, different lines of work. So it varies all over.
So if we do this as a swap, even, are we gonna be doing that for every, holiday that occurs on a weekend? We're gonna say, you work the day before, or if it's on a Saturday and we're observing it on a Friday, we're gonna say, if you work Friday, you can take another day for every one of them or just for this one?
Is there another one that does this? All of our other ones are, Labor Day is Monday,
Memorial,
Thanksgiving is Thursday. Christmas, it can happen with,
it can happen with.
and it can happen with New
Memorial.
Year's.
Memorial.
So-
No,
Memorial Day is also
Memorial Day
Monday
is
night.
always
It's always
Monday.
on the weekend, but we observe, we get a day off, either a Friday or that Saturday. Well, one of the weekends days.
Memorial Day is always a Monday holiday.
Now it is.
So they take the actual holiday off.
Right, it
Except in
used to.
Holly, where they celebrate it on the 30th, no matter what.
So,
So just.
So
I don't
the-
remember
the
6
principal-
years ago.
The principal question is, are we going to be open on the observed holiday, Monday, the 5th of July?
Right.
Or are we taking that as a holiday,
That's
closing
the
the lights?
question. That's the question.
That would solve the answer. So
Okay.
I don't know if the board can make that decision.
No,
I'm fine with you making the decision. But in the past, have we we been closed on July 4th?
Well, the last time this happened would have been, what, 6 years ago?
Something like that.
And it would have been my first year here, and there was no way I made that decision.
If the 4th comes on a weekday, on a day when we're normally open, like even a Saturday, then we're closed for the holiday.
Mhm.
It's only because the holiday is on the only day of the week that we're not regularly open. And once again, we should have a board resolution to do that. That's not going to
Mhm.
happen. So we have to think about what we're comfortable with and think about the people who are not here and say, is anybody going to say, you should have been open or you should have been closed?
right.
Uncharacteristically, I'm thinking that it probably should be a holiday.
I think
And
so.
why I say uncharacteristically
Yeah,
is
that's
I'm the one who
uncharacteristic.
says, you need to be open no matter what.
I think, for one, I would defer to the director, but as being an observed holiday, and everything else is typically closed on the observed holiday, which is why laws changed,
Mhm.
let's just be closed. But that's up to you. That was my opinion.
The thing is,
It is not me.
I think with it being the 4th of July and being the observed holiday, that we would be very, very, very slow here. Don't we,
Yes.
are we
'Cause it's
not?
a long-
out there?
I'm
It's a-
inclined to think that you would be the only library in Western New
In
York,
Western
not
New
just,
York, yeah.
not just Neoga.
Yeah, so because of that, I would be inclined
So are
also.
the 4 of us comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with it.
I'm comfortable
Okay.
with it. And
Debbie?
thank you. I wasn't sure,
Okay.
because, you know, I knew.
It's so hard not to say your last name. It's so unbelievably hard. So with that, do we have, the upcoming events, I'll read out loud. Regular meeting of the Hoag Library Board will be July 7th, 2021. I do hope I got that date correct. Regular meeting of the Friends of the Hoag Library. I haven't gotten any update of when they're gonna meet again. Friends of the Library Book and Plant Sale, as we said earlier, will be this Friday, June 11th, and Saturday, June 12th. Summer reading begins on June 21st.
Let me just suggest that the second Wednesday is July 14th. We can meet anytime we want, but is there a reason why we would go to the
She's
first?
talking about Friends.
No,
No, I'm talking about,
Oh,
The
I'm
first
so
night of
sorry.
regular meeting of the
see, I
Hoyt.
just asked if the date was correct. I don't know what I was thinking. have it on my,
Um,
I typed it wrong. So the regular meeting of the Hoyt Library Board will be on July
14th.
14th. So that will have to be changed. I apologize for that.
Now, may I just suggest, this is not a motion because we can't have one. If it gets to be Tuesday and you know you can't come for whatever reason, family commitments, out of town, whatever, let's let Linda know if we don't have a quorum 2 months in a row, let's not, I mean, I like y'all,
They,
but
the people who said they were gonna be late, were assuming they were gonna be here on time,
okay,
or close to on time.
okay.
The only one I had heard of through Betty Sue, who had heard about it through her sister, was Mr. Conrad.
Okay,
So that was the one I was only
Okay.
expecting not to be here.
okay. then you
Else
got
I
that all
certainly
covered.
would have, it was a toss-up, because they're like, we will be there, we'll just be a little bit late.
Okay.
There was an option, they wanted to try and do a Zoom halfway, we're not allowed to do that. So it was under the assumption that people were gonna be here just late.
right.
So items to be added to the next agenda. You ready, Megan? Okay. We have to review and adopt the minutes from the May 9th meeting. And this meeting will already be in the agenda. We have to make a motion for the transfer of funds from this meeting.
Is that the May transfer of funds or
No.
the June
No,
transfer
June.
of funds?
The ones that would have been live today to do the June ones.
The June. Also under new business, we'll have the discussion of amendment to the bylaws. Correct?
I thought I put that under old business.
Okay, we'll have the,
Do you want it under new business?
well, kind of new because we'll have to rehab that discussion. However you wanna put it, just so I can
Well,
add it in.
I only had it under old only because it was something that was discussed last
Okay.
time I was here, which was at least three
Okay.
weeks ago.
Okay. We'll still have to discuss the mask, or are we leaving it up to the director? How do those in attendance feel?
I'm in favor of moving forward, based on the input from all the folks around here and the state and the library people, rather than wait for us to get together and decide.
We
Because-
will leave it up to the director based on guidance from
Nyoga
The
and
health
the
department.
the NOGA and the health department to make that decision and inform the board
Okay.
when,
So that doesn't necessarily have to be done tomorrow.
correct.
It may be next week or the week after
Right.
even but I don't have to wait until the next meeting
Correct,
for approval. Okay.
correct. Am I missing anything? Aside from obviously putting July 7th for our next meeting.
There was something.
You wanted me to
Oh,
report
the
on something.
treasurer, discussion of the treasurer
Yes, the,
position.
It was also something, Joyce, that you
It
wanted
was
added.
the connection relative to the policy book, which Linda has done.
Okay,
yes.
So, and
Okay.
we'll follow up on.
okay.
So if you, Megan, if you could put, what was it, the policy book update status, so that I make sure I do that. And also, I'll reach out to Mr. Binderman for any state guidance on terms, so I can come back with
Right.
what any of that information is.
Yeah, that goes in along with the, bylaw.
Does,
And let's not forget the evaluation, because we gotta decide what we're gonna do, or if we're gonna do anything.
oh, that was the thing.
That was the thing. That's why I just kept
That
saying,
was,
Joyce, to do
action.
something.
Is that, that's a
Okay.
committee though. that
Okay.
does that.
Well, it should be personnel committee,
Right,
which
Yeah.
has to do whatever they're doing in terms of creating the
Correct.
metric. And so in a manner so that the finance committee will know whether or not there are adjustments to be made based on evaluation.
Correct.
The last few years, the adjustment has been blanket.
so I can't mandate any committee to meet, but the committee does have to meet to set those guidelines so we can get evaluations done. So we have that recommendations.
That should not be.
Did you go over them?
No, it's in the packet,
Okay.
right? The committee, yeah.
Okay.
Does anyone have anything else for tonight? Are we missing anything that we wanna include in next month's agenda that we have to discuss? Anyone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Debbie?
Oh.
At 8:05, second by Mr. Doherty. Thank you all.
Thank you.